Ever feel like you're drowning in a sea of marketing tools trying to keep your business running smoothly? What if you could simplify it all with one platform? That's where Go High Level comes in, your all-in-one sales and marketing solution built for small businesses like you. In fact, Go High Level has over 1 million users just like you. With Go High Level, you can capture leads, automate your prospect and client journeys, quickly and efficiently build stunning websites, sales pages, and sales funnels. Imagine managing your CRM, email, SMS, and funnels without duct taping a dozen tools together. Plus, their unlimited plan lets you add as many contacts and users as you need, no hidden fees. We've been using Go High Level for over a year now and absolutely love it. In fact, Profit First Nation is also powered by Go High Level. Ready to level up? Start your Profit First Nation extended 30-day free trial today at www.gohighlevel.com/Profit First Nation. That's www.gohighlevel.com/Profit First Nation. Streamline your workflow, impress your clients, and grow smarter, not harder.
Welcome to Profit First Nation, the official podcast for entrepreneurs who are operating their businesses in the zone of permanent profitability. I'm Mike Michalowicz, the author of Profit First, and now, here's your Profit First Nation guide, Daniel Mulvey.
Welcome to Profit First Nation, the podcast for the top 17% of entrepreneurs with cash in the bank to correlate to their profitability. Profit First Nation is the podcast for intelligent entrepreneurs who have taken ownership of their financials and leverage Profit First as a cash management system to make their businesses permanently profitable. I am Danielle Mulvey, an expert at guiding entrepreneurs on owning their financials in as little as 11 minutes per day and doing Profit First right. If you are a fan of Profit First and its author, Mike Michalowicz, you have found your tribe. We are a nation of successful entrepreneurs driven to be permanently profitable with a grit and a growth mindset that lets no obstacle stand in our way in pursuit of the 3 Ps: passion, profit, and play. On Profit First Nation, we dive into advanced Profit First strategies and we share the honest and authentic ups and downs of being an entrepreneur. All right. Well, it's an episode ending in 9. So we are going to go all in on recruiting, hiring, and retaining 5-star employees. And so today we are going to walk through the 6 strategies to attract 5-star employees. So the top 6 strategies to attract 5-star employees. And the first strategy is number 1, get different. You need to approach this not like everyone else. I mean, I think what's so funny is if you go on any of the job boards and let's say you're recruiting for a bookkeeper and you looked at 1,000 postings for bookkeeper, they're all basically the same. They are vanilla job postings with essentially the same basic information. And so, people are just going through and just kind of throwing their hat in the ring and apply. And this is kind of the other thing about getting different is if you want to attract 5-star employees, we're wanting to attract 5-star employees while simultaneously repelling 1, 2, 3-star employees or average ho-hum bookkeepers or whatever position that you're recruiting for. So, in that job posting, number 1, you don't want to be vanilla. You don't want to be like everyone else. I know people think that they're smart by going to, another couple of job postings for bookkeeper and then taking those 3 job postings that someone else is using and merging them into your new job posting and such. But again, you're just attracting blah, you're attracting ho-hum and average, you're just being vanilla about it. So when you get different, what you need to do is you need to have a job posting that stands out from the crowd of all these other generic bookkeeper positions. So, it starts with a captivating title. So, if you're recruiting bookkeepers to work on, let's just say, profit first clients and work with small businesses, then you're going to want to highlight that. You're not going to want to say full-time bookkeeper, remote available. I mean, again, that's usually a generic title, doesn't give you any indication of why they should apply for this job. But, a better title would be small business bookkeeper with the heart of a teacher, apply here. You want to throw in, some of those qualities and those things that differentiate your organization in the title of the job posting. And just, again, get different about it. Make sure that you're outlining what your application process is in the job posting. The job posting also needs to have the key responsibilities and the success metrics associated with those key responsibilities. Again, it's all about attracting the 5-star candidate, the person who likes to go above and beyond, the person who just is a rock star, and simultaneously repelling the individuals who, say they are a bookkeeper, but they don't want to be held to any accountability. So, putting success metrics in there is just going to be like, oh, why would I apply here? I'll just apply to these 1,000 other vanilla looking bookkeeper positions and probably get that just fine and be able to collect a paycheck. So you've got the success metrics associated with the, 3 to 5 key responsibilities for the role. Your job posting is not necessarily the formal job description. So the job posting is, what you're doing to attract the candidate, pique their interest, and just kind of get them to apply. It's still going to have all the important information, but you're going to also still have that formal, traditional job description that you need from sort of an HR, legal, and compliance perspective, where it really has all of the responsibilities. If the bookkeeper is having to, box records or this, that, the other, do they need to lift a 40-pound box and put it in the back somewhere? I don't know. But you need to have those things in that formal job description, but you don't use that necessarily in your recruitment process. And then also in your job posting, you are going to want to have your recruitment and hiring process. So, number one is going to be apply here, apply online, or you might be having them send an email with their resume to throw their hat in the ring, and you might put a request. Some people say, oh, make sure this is in the subject line. But, your recruitment and hiring process should take 5 to 6, 7, 8 steps of taking a candidate through. And all of those steps, you're filtering out those individuals who are less than 5-star candidates. So at the end of your recruitment and hiring process, the people who've made it through, quote, your gauntlet are the individuals who, have just met or exceeded your expectations for each step in the process. And, it's also important too, in this case, if we're looking for a bookkeeper, you are going to want to also have in your process, one of the steps needs to be testing the individuals. Sometimes, you might have 2 testing phases in your process. But if you're hiring for any sort of specific skills or experience, you need to create tests, and you need to have those tests, again, differentiating yourself, because this is going to attract the 5-star candidate who's like, I got this, I can pass this, this is great. This is going to be worth my time applying to this instead of applying to all these vanilla job postings and such. So again, that attraction factor and the repelling factor. So, people who call themselves a bookkeeper, but maybe aren't, trained to really be a true bookkeeper, they're going to say, you know what? I don't need to apply for this position. I don't need to be tested on this. They just need to trust me that I know bookkeeping. All right. So the first strategy, we spent a lot of time on it, but it's about getting different with your job posting and how you are recruiting and attracting the candidates to begin with. The second strategy is number 2, you need to always be recruiting. So this is the concept of the virtual bench, and just always keeping your eye out in the wild for great talent, great potential candidates, so that, when you do have a position become available, you're ready to go and you already have some people that you could approach about entering your pipeline. Now, if you find someone in the wild and you're always recruiting, you're always thinking about people, they still need to go through your formal process. They still need to go through all of the steps that you've outlined as part of your recruitment and hiring process because you need to assess them like everyone else. Yes, they give you great customer service at the bank and you know that they're an accounting student at the university. But again, if you're hiring them for a bookkeeper, they need to go through that process. Just because they're a great teller at the bank and just because they're an accounting major in college doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to be a 5-star bookkeeper. Maybe they're really a 3-star bookkeeper. So, taking through that process, going through all of those steps, including that important testing phase, is absolutely just key to making sure that you make an offer to the true, genuine 5-star candidates. So, always be recruiting. One is looking out in the wild. Another strategy for always recruiting is having that job posting out there. It takes a lot of time. Sometimes, you need to fill a position faster than the allotted time. So, if you are on a trajectory for growth, then it's better to be proactive in your recruitment rather than reactive. So, most people start up their recruitment engine when someone is leaving or someone has left the organization. And, I challenge you, even if you don't have a position available right now, but, you're thinking about bringing on someone over the next couple of months and such, then turn on the ad now. Get going with it and just kind of see what happens. I'll leave ads open for a while or job postings. We don't pay. Our applicant tracking system does the postings for us on a variety of job boards and they're all free. But I leave those postings up. I don't necessarily close them. And, it's surprising how, quote, old a job posting might be and someone's applying to it. We recently hired for a small business blog editor and community curator for the podcast. And it was a part-time position. And we had over 55 applicants and we filled the position, but it was still open. And someone came across towards the end. I think they were applicant number 53, 52 on the list. And I don't know, just something about the individual. They scored high on the preview assessment that we use as our initial benchmark. And if they score 70% or higher, then we look at them. So I looked at this person and ended up connecting with them and taking them through a process. And really, they were such a great talent. And even though they were had applied for a part-time position to augment their current job, we ended up making an offer to them after they went through our process of a shadow day, et cetera, doing several projects for us, several deep dive interviews, and it just worked out great. So, that's that concept of always recruiting. I thought that I was going to be recruiting for this position, 2 months from when I was going to bring on the other small business blog editor. And, again, I just ended up accelerating this by a month because I left that job posting up. So that's another example of always be recruiting. Strategy number 3 is recruit for function, not title. So some people might have said that a social media manager is what I was looking for when we were recruiting for a small business blog editor and community curator. But, social media manager, that's a pretty generic term. So I got real specific and was recruiting for the function, not the title. So the function that I needed was a small business blog editor and community curator. So I got pretty specific about what I was looking for. And I can guarantee you there was no other position like that in the market in terms of job postings. So, add the things that you're looking for. When we talked about the title of the bookkeeper, a small business bookkeeper with the heart of a teacher. So you're not looking for someone to just, be working at a computer all day long and not interact with anyone. You're looking for someone who has the heart of a teacher. Why? Because the expectation is that this person's going to be able to explain things and likes to work with people and likes to let people, grow in their knowledge and understanding, and in this case, obviously, of their financials. All right. So that is recruiting for function and not title is really important. And again, this is about getting different and differentiating yourself as well, but another way to look at it. The other thing about recruiting for function, not title, is just looking for people who maybe aren't necessarily in the specific role right now, but have the aptitudes and the ability to pick up on the skills. I don't mean to brag, but I seem to have a gift for this. I mean, I've hired many people and sort of just plucked them from, let's just call it obscurity, and just kind of saw the potential in them and brought them into, a new world because they had that aptitude to be successful in learning, a new skill and a new career path. So, I can think of from my days in advertising and marketing, I plucked an IT guy who, was setting up the computers and such for businesses, and turned him into a graphic designer and an editor and this, that, the other. And, today he's vice president of marketing for a prominent large company in Nashville, Tennessee. Shout out to Justin Reeder. And, then I think of Kelly Tucker, who had a background in marketing, had worked for actually the Detroit Tigers, Major League Baseball marketing, then got into healthcare marketing and such. And, to a certain degree, marketing jobs kind of like hit a ceiling and such. But she really, she would get frustrated with things and such. And she just really had like a very operations focused mind. So I challenged her to, look at things in operations. And within a year, when she made a transition to operations in healthcare role, she was just killing it. She more than doubled her salary, and she is just knocking it out of the park since. But so those are two examples. So sometimes you need someone that has the experience, but also times too, it could be a potential, if you have a blank slate to start with and they have just kind of like the 11 qualities of a 5-star employee and the key aptitudes that you need, most anything can be learned and taught, unless, it requires a license or an advanced degree. All right. Now, strategy number 4 is to cast the biggest net possible. So, I find that most businesses post on one job board, and that's it. So it's either they pick ZipRecruiter or they pick Indeed, and they usually get roped into sponsoring it or boosting it or doing those other kinds of things. So that gets expensive. So I can understand if you're paying and that money just kind of like is getting pulled out of your account without too much control. You can set a budget for the day. That just sort of limits your pool. So, challenge you to find as many opportunities to cast as wide of a net as possible, to shout from the mountaintops and from the valleys and the rivers and the streams and the beaches and the lakes and the desert and wherever you are, as many places as possible. So a couple of ways to do this is obviously the job boards. And I challenge you to find multiple job boards and, use those free postings. Then what you'll want to do is go to LinkedIn and post a job on LinkedIn and ask your connections on LinkedIn to share. Something about LinkedIn too, I think it's good if you're doing it for other people, then other people will do it for you. So whenever I see someone of my LinkedIn connections that I do know really well post a job, I always, repost it and forward it as much as I can. So I am hopefully building up some credits when we are recruiting as well. So LinkedIn is another strategy. If you are a brick and mortar business or, even a remote local business, doing some sort of like old school banner out front and make it big, again, get different. Like if you're just going to do one of those little yard signs that says no hiring, forget it. I mean, I'm talking if you're going to put a banner, make sure that banner is like 8 foot wide by 12 feet tall, or, something like on the whole side of your building so people can't miss it. These little, like, again, doing what everyone else is doing and just using the small generic now hiring signs just doesn't do it and doesn't allow you enough information to be conveyed about the position. And, even if you don't have a physical location, but, you never know, that person might be around the corner from you, even though you are going to make this a remote position. So at coffee shops or at places that you go to, the gyms, et cetera, usually there's like a community bulletin board. So create a little flyer, create something that, posts the position and gets your name out there and gets the job out there as well. You can use Facebook and Instagram and other social media. And then also too, I know Facebook is changing up some things with regards to job postings, but there are still local groups that, you can tap into to share your job posting. So like here, I think there's a group called, hiring in the OC and such. So if I've got a job, I'm posting in there and sharing the information with that. And then another, casting a wide net is looking at colleges and universities and going to the the Career Center is useless at universities. I'm saying it. And I hate Handshake. I mean, don't get me started. That could be a whole nother podcast, but we'll keep this positive. So with colleges and universities, what I do is I actually connect with the admin for the department that I am looking to recruit from, because they sort of usually take on a parental or motherly role amongst the students and, want to see them succeed and want to help them. So they are usually very receptive to sharing jobs and job postings with their students. So I could keep going on and on, but we need to finish this episode quickly. So then we have strategy number 5, which is objectively define what determines success in the role. So in this case, I mentioned this earlier in the job postings, you're going to want to list the 3 to 5 key responsibilities and then have a metric associated. Objectify with dollars or numbers what success looks like for that key responsibility. So if it's a small business bookkeeper with the heart of a teacher, then, maybe a metric is having, 5 Zoom meetings to review the financials with your clients on a weekly basis. Again, that opportunity to be face-to-face and really make sure over Zoom that your clients or who's ever in your book of business or in your roster is really understanding their financials. So, but we're putting a number to it. You need to do at least 5 of these per week to be successful in the role. All right. And then strategy number 6 to attract 5-star employees is to leverage a dedicated recruitment website. So you whet their appetite. You got to get the job posting out there and such. But you can also then link to a dedicated recruitment website. I am not a huge fan of, burying careers somewhere at the bottom of your website. Now, if you do have careers on your website, that's fine. They can click that button, but it's going to take them to your dedicated website for recruitment. And that's really your opportunity, again, to get different, to really stand out and, talk about things and go into detail about things like no other position or your competition is doing when it comes to their recruiting and hiring. And it also keeps it kind of like out of the purview of your clients and customers. And so, if it's just dedicated to the people that you're trying to attract, I mean, it's going to make a difference to them and they're going to be impressed by it. And it gives you just, such a great opportunity to share things about your culture, talk about what a day in the life is like, dive into your core values. I mean, there's just so many things, testimonials from prior employees. So a dedicated recruitment site is another awesome tool in your arsenal when it comes to attracting 5-star employees. So we do have programming around this. As many of you know, our episodes ending in 4 and 9 are talking about going all in on recruiting and hiring and building your dream teams. And Mike and I are collaborating on his next book, which will come out in the fall of 2023, where we are talking about recruiting, hiring, and retaining 5-star employees and going into great detail on that. But we are previewing that content through our programming right now. We've got accelerator courses. So if you go to 5staremployees.com, you can catch it that way. And I'm also putting a lot of content out there and these like nuggets and wonderful morsels of recruiting and hiring strategies, and also retention of 5-star employees by following me on LinkedIn at Danielle Mulvey. And that will be in the show notes in the visual recap. So if you want to capture that visual recap, then go to profitfirstnation.com and click on resources. You'll have the option to opt in to have them texted and or emailed to you on a weekly basis. And if you're not going to hire your own bookkeeper and you want to work with an accountant, bookkeeper, or coach with the heart of a teacher, that's one of my certified fellow Profit First professional peeps. And so if you would like to connect with one of those wonderful people, then go to profitfirstnation.com and click on contact. And cheers to another profitable day, my entrepreneurial friend. Profit First Nation website, related podcasts, and resources are provided for general information purposes only and do not constitute accounting, legal, tax, or other professional advice. Visitors should not act upon the content or information found here without first seeking appropriate advice from an accountant, financial planner, lawyer, or other professional.
Hey, this is Ro, and if you're a business owner struggling with hiring or just tired of doing it yourself, I highly recommend the Build Your Dream Team Secret Podcast series. There are 7 episodes packed with real stories from founders who've cracked the code on hiring, built high-performing teams, and finally got out of the day-to-day grind. My favorite part? It's not fluff. It's systems, strategy, and results. Text DREAM to 55444. That's DREAM to 55444 to check it out. You'll thank me later.